Welcome back. Now more from our amazing utopia.
And we'll put a falconer's hood on the bird to calm it down often, and then bring it to the ground so that we can take our measurements to get a sense of the health of the bird.
The lifespan of the solar-powered GPS units have exceeded the projections of 3 years. Most of the units are already on their 4th or 5th year of operation. This recent research has resulted in 19 birds tracked with over 300,000 GPS data points. But why spend the time and energy and money to track these birds? For one reason, because raptors are a great indicator of ecosystem health.
So hawks and raptors are really good indicator species because they are predators at the top of their food chain, and they rely on a large landscape to make a living, and so they really do the job of sampling the landscape for us by the prey that they feed on and the large landscapes they cover. And so if a raptor is in trouble or declining, we know that there's something happening at a large scale, not just some local area. So in that way they can tell us a lot about a big landscape.
Since 2008, there has been a recorded 50% drop in the number of breeding territories that were occupied by golden eagles. And while it is difficult to determine the cause of decline, Steve and his team have many plausible explanations for the loss.
Big thing that we've been focusing on is something called cheatgrass. It's an invasive species introduced from Eurasia that was unintentionally introduced, and now it's throughout the West, and it dries out really early in the year and causes these fires to burn through more frequently on an annual basis, or even every few years than what we saw historically.
Cheatgrass is considered an invasive exotic because it outcompetes the native sagebrush, creating a monoculture that is harmful to native wildlife.
Golden eagles that live out in desert and shrub habitats throughout the western U.S. one of their primary prey species is a jackrabbit. And jackrabbits, they don't live in burrows, their cover is shrub cover. And so as we have these fires that come from invasive cheatgrass and from increased recreation and other activities out in the west, you lose that shrub cover, and then we lose the jackrabbit numbers. And so it gets harder and harder for an eagle, which is a very large bird, to find big enough prey. They can't make a living on ground squirrels and snakes and other things that are remaining out there, and so that's a big loss.
One of the effects of global climate change is an increased amount and intensity of forest fires and brush fires. But that's not the only threat to golden eagles because of climate change.
We have golden eagles and other species that are nesting earlier to take advantage of the warmer conditions earlier in the year, but then they often get caught by a spring snowstorm that causes failures.
In 2016, golden eagles were added to the Utah list of species of special concern. This was a direct result of the monitoring work conducted by Hawkwatch and their partners.
In Utah, a lot of us are out there recreating, and there's a lot of overlap where eagles want to be and where we want to be, whether that's climbing or hiking or on ATVs. And so if you see a raptor, or if you hear an eagle calling at you, or other wildlife generally tell you when they don't want you near their area, whether it be a nest or a roost site. And so be respectful if you hear that type of alarm call. Rather than pulling out your camera and getting closer, back off to give them some space.
In addition to habitat encroachment, vehicle collisions for eagles, especially in the winter, is a major problem. When live prey is unavailable, they often turn to roadkill, and that illustrates another very important aspect of the GPS tracking project. When the GPS stops moving, meaning the bird has died, the team immediately spring into action to investigate the cause of death, revealing important information about threats to golden eagles and other raptors.
If you're traveling in an area where that's signed that has high mortality of deer or have deer crossings, just being aware that there could also be eagles feeding on dead deer and slowing down. Eagles, they're very large birds, and they'll gorge themselves at these carcasses, and unlike a raven, they can't just jump up and fly away really quickly from a vehicle. They're often very slow and lethargic and are more likely to be hit themselves. So just giving them some space and some time, and not assuming they're just gonna sit there on the side of the road as you go past.
Hawkwatch is working with state agencies to determine the most dangerous roads for eagles and other raptors so they can pass that information on to the public. Monitoring the health of golden eagle populations is not just about protecting golden eagles. It's about protecting humans. If the eagles die off, it could be a warning to humans. By supporting the efforts of Hawkwatch in Utah, you could be supporting the future quality of life for your very own family.
Because the birds monitored by Hawkwatch are found nationwide and across international borders, they have a relationship and chapters across the entire range. But Hawkwatch headquarters are in Salt Lake City, and that is something we can be proud of. Support Hawkwatch by visiting their website. Don't go away. More Utopia after these messages.